Welcome to Virtuoso Music Hour. In today's lesson, I'm looking at the ledger lines. When you have understood the lines and spaces of the treble and bass staff, it's very important that you understand that there's a possibility of going beyond the compass of the 5 lines and 4 spaces. And if you understand that, it will make it more easier for you to read notes that exceeds the 5 lines and 4 spaces of the treble staff or the bass staff. And until you are able to comprehend how to read music in any place that is going to be placed by the composer, it will still not be easy for you to fluently interpret the music that you see or that you sing. Now, what is a ledger line? For the introduction, I need to define the word for you so that you get it clear. Ledger line is a short horizontal line used to extend pitch of music notes. Now, the compass of the stave is smaller, in that all the sound that you want to accommodate or want to bring onto them, they will look too small to accommodate them. And so without the use of ledger lines, you may not be able to have all the sounds in place. And so when sounds goes higher or lower than you could place them on the staff, a ledger line is employed. All the letters of the treble and the bass staff, you have already seen me present them in past lessons, particularly on the topic when I treated music alphabets on stave, which I will put the link in the description below for you to watch it if you have not. So the music alphabet on stave has been treated, and it showed all the letters in between the staves and on each of the treble and the bass stave. These are important to understand. But now, beyond the treble and the bass stave, we want to see the regions upwards and the regions downward. Regions upwards, the treble staff, and regions downwards, the treble staff. And then regions upwards, the bass staff, and downward, the bass staff. These are important places to understand. Now, when you look at the previous lesson on the music alphabet, you will see that there was one place that we call middle C. Middle C, as you could see it, is not located on the treble staff, is not located on the bass staff. On both staves, it has no place. It is located on a short line that is neither part of the treble staff nor part of the bass staff. So in its location, it is a ledger line, and that is the one authentic ledger line that we have between the treble and the bass staff. And it's important for you to understand what ledger lines are doing, whether they are above the treble staff or they are below the treble staff, whether they are above the bass staff or they are below the bass staff. It's important for you to understand what they are doing. What is a ledger line actually doing? As I have said before, it is needed to widen the compass of the staff, because the notes on the staff are not sufficient enough for all the sounds that you will want to bring on as a composer onto the staff. So we're going into the ledger line, and I'll be giving you some important things. Number one, the ledger line is a compass widener. It means that if you want to widen the compass, if you want to extend the range of the writing, the range of the notes, you only use a ledger line as a tool to widen the compass. It could be above the treble staff, it could be below the treble staff, it could be above the bass staff or below the bass staff. Any of those places are the places you could use a ledger line. Number 2, a ledger line is not to be found on the staff. You need to note that a ledger line is not to be found on either the treble staff or the bass staff. In only of those places you find staff lines, not ledger lines. Now, staff lines are full long line that goes and stretches horizontally. That is the staff line. But ledger line is different. It's not a long line, it's a short line. Both of them are horizontal, but the ledger line is short and not as long as the staff line. You must know that. And so you can't find any ledger line on either the treble staff or the bass staff. Number 3, it contains one note. Now let's get it more clearer. There is a ledger line and there is a ledger space. What is a ledger space? A ledger space is the space above the ledger line or below it. So after each line there is a space. Before another line, then a space. That's how it goes, whether it's rising or is falling. So there must be a line, then a space, before another line, and all those lines and spaces are taken into consideration when you are reading the notations or the music settings that is done with them. Alright, the next, that should be number 4 now. It should be orderly arranged when more than one note is used to show clearly the first before the second and so forth. Now, when you are writing and you are arranging ledger line, you must make sure that the number 1 is clearly standing before introducing the number 2. Then number 3 and number 4 and as many as they could be. The point is that there should be a clarity to the positioning so that one could know that this ledger line is not the first ledger line either below or above the staff. Okay, that this is a second one, and if you're introducing a third one, the first one must be there first, then the second before you introduce the third. That is the order of its arrangement. As I said, remember that it contains one note and it should be orderly arranged when more than one is used to show clearly the first before the second, etc. Now, you're going to see me display the ledger lines as they are, and you're going to see the ledger line extending above the treble staff and extending below the bass staff. So if you watch your screen now, you'll be seeing the ledger lines that are going up above the staff and that are below the staff. Now you will see that we have the first ledger line above the treble staff as letter A. That means we've reached the 5th line. Then above the 5th line there's a space which is letter G. The space that is above the 5th line is letter G. Then above it, there is no other way for us to keep on rising or raising the bar, or rather writing more notes, except we are using a ledger line and ledger spaces to extend the pitches. So the first ledger line above the treble staff is letter A. Above it will be the space. That will be space B. And the second ledger line will be C. Above that, we are going to see D, and then E will be the next ledger line. Now, looking at the screen, you will see that there is a graphic displaying simultaneously the keyboard and the staff. This is the alignment of both informations, telling you that whatever you're seeing on the keyboard is exactly the position it is on the grand staff. Now, you are seeing two ledger lines below the bass staff, which is supposed to be C, then above it a space, D, and then above the D, the second ledger line, E, and then above it will be F. That's below the bass staff. Then, above the bass staff, you have two ledger lines again. Before the first line, you had B on top of the bass staff fifth line. Then the first ledger line there is middle C. Then above that middle C, there is a space, which is supposed to be D. And then you have another line, which is a second line. That is already the first line of the treble staff being used as a ledger line, being shortened to form a ledger line. So in that, after that, you now ascend onto the treble staff. Now if you look at the treble staff on its own side, it has two ledger lines. The first ledger line descending is a middle C. The second line is already getting into the fifth line of the bass staff. If you understand these positions where you read music and the ledger line either drops down or it climbs up, the notes are on them. If you understand how to read those notes, you will not have an issue. One point to clear is this, that the ledger line that is first, either climbing down from the treble staff or climbing up from the bass staff, is the middle C. Once you understand that, you will know that there's only one line which is authentic. One line, and that is middle C. Is the only authentic ledger line between the treble and the bass staff. Now cross up to the fifth line of the treble staff. You will see there are two ledger lines again. That means after the fifth line of the treble, you have G. Then the first ledger line is an A. Above the letter A, which is the first ledger line, there is B. And above that B, there is letter C again. So that is how you could see ledger lines being used in between these two staves and ledger lines being used above the treble staff and below the bass staff. If you understand all these things, your reading your music will be very simple to you. As we have gone from the beginning of this class, if you've watched all the other videos, you will understand that music alphabets are read. When you are climbing up, you are reading it in alphabetical order. When you are climbing down, you are reversing the order of the alphabet. That means anti-clock. So if you understand this method of reading, if you get it clearly, reading music on the staff will become a lot easier for you to understand and how to interpret it. That's how we see it to the end of this class, and we're expecting to see you more on this channel. And how do you do that? Hit the subscription button, subscribe, and like it to encourage us in what we're doing, that we are bringing the knowledge that you needed and the right one for that matter. So until we come your way again, keep reading your music, keep understanding the language, and it will make you the better musician you're supposed to be.